Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin from Florals.com, and today we're tackling a topic that a lot of you have requested / I've talked about before / is much needed in the scrapbooking community, although there are people who've talked about it before. But today I'm sharing my tips with you and ideas with you on how to make more masculine layouts. And of course, if you might be new to scrapbooking, you might think there's a lot of rules or idea lines that you have to follow, but really it's a free-for-all. I just want to show you guys my tips and my ideas for different types of masculine layouts and how you can achieve them more easily if you are struggling with them. If you're going for a particular look and you're having trouble finding the things to get there that are already in your stash, maybe this will help. So first I'm going to go through some of my design tips and product tips, and then I'm going to show you a couple layouts that I have already completed that emulate some of those masculine points that I'm talking about. And of course, masculinity is all sorts of different ways and shapes, comes in shapes and forms, and of course you can use pink on masculine layouts, you can use any color on masculine layouts, but I'm covering some of my tips and tricks to get the masculine layout that I usually go for, but I have done pink masculine layouts, purples, all sorts of colors, so these are just some tips and product ideas that you guys can use. So to start off, I have a bunch of little products up here that I'd like to point out. One thing that I find works really well when trying to do masculine layouts is texture. So I have a little cup here. These are some actual wood cut pieces. These are from, I believe I bought them at Click Kits. I'm not sure they're any longer available, but they are still available in the market elsewhere. So they're just real wood chips. So they're like wood veneer but different. And then I also have wood buttons. These are from Studio Calico, and they just add so much texture, and these ones have sort of different patterns and stuff. So this is a little wood box that I have. Of course, wood veneer also adds a ton of texture, so if you're in need of ideas for texture, definitely stay tuned for more, but this is one I just want to start with because these ones are so unique. I know not a lot of people have brought out wood chips as part of their collections, but it is an idea you can use. So I do use a lot of texture on my masculine layouts, including things like cork pieces, which I have a couple examples of here, whether it be a title or just a little accent. And you'll see cork on a majority of my pages that aren't masculine as well. I'm addicted to texture on my layouts, so these are things that I include all the time. But those are a great one to include. And if you don't have cork in your stash yet, you can find it a ton of places. You can also buy cork sheets so you can cut your own shapes out. There's also chipboard frames. Now the ones I have are specifically from a boy collection, but I do find frames in general can be very masculine because of their rigidness. So if you lined up a bunch of these on a background, it would look so cool. These ones are sort of like a retro feel, so you get that vintage vibe. But if you just lined up a bunch of either plain chipboard frames or some colored ones, maybe a bunch of the same color schemes, so like monochromatic would be really cool, but just frames in general. These ones actually have a little window here, so these would be great shaker windows on a masculine card, or masculine layout I mean. So things like that. And of course I pulled out a bunch of metals. So I have brads, I have little gears here, which I have not used on layout, but I'm excited to. And then I even have paper clips and charms. So there's tons of different things you can use. They're probably already in your stash. I know I have some metal buttons. Here I have some plastic ones out, but buttons are a great way to add a lot of dimension and texture. But simple paper clips can add a lot to your layout as well if you haven't tried using those. These are some charms by Ken Oliver that I found recently that are pretty cool. If you can tell here, there are, I think they're grandfather clocks and then like little alarm clocks. So those would be really great on a layout. And then of course I have the gears and then the brads. These are just some of my brads that are in a package still, so I thought I'd bring those out. Next up I have some of this. Now I have this in a bunch of colors, but I decided to pick out the gray one to show you guys, which was a bad idea, granted all the color in the background here. But it's just called Magic Mesh. I'm not sure this is available anymore, but if you can tell in the back of my hand here, it just adds a little bit of a grid texture to anything you put it on top of, and it is self-adhesive for the most part. You can peel it up and down all you want, but it is self-adhesive. I've had this for a while, but I have it in a bunch of colors, and it just adds a lot to a layout, and I have layout using it later on as well. So if you're interested in learning more about that, let me know. Let's see what's up next. I do have a couple felt pieces. Now I haven't used felt in a while, but I did find my felt stash again, and I plan on using it on some layouts soon because it's so much fun. But these are just some felt pieces that are from, Not 100% sure where they're from. I think I got them from Oriental Trading, but there are other companies that make them. So you got brackets, arrows, I have hearts and flowers, and of course you can use flowers on masculine layouts, and this certainly helps to work them in if they're a fun, unique texture, because I feel like that just brings a lot more interest to layout without getting too complicated into the colors of flowers. But just some little felt pieces there. I of course have chipboard. I had mentioned chipboard earlier, but I have these giant chipboard word phrases and such from Tim Holtz. And Tim Holtz is a great brand for some masculine products as well as vintage products. And now when I do masculine pages, I will say that I do tend to go towards that vintage tendency. Like these have a vintage feel because they're scuffed up and stuff like that. But I like bold when I do masculine layouts. I like clean and simple lines. Usually it's either mixed media or it's not mixed media. There's like not a lot of in between there for me. But one other technique I like to use on my layouts is this little guy here, and it's a Tim Holtz Distress Tool. I have a couple other Tim products I'm going to talk about, but this one's the most important. I use this on a bunch of layouts just to add texture, but if you just use this and run it along the paper edges through one of these slits, it rips the paper just a little bit. And again, I have some layouts that I'll be able to show you that have this technique done on it, and it just adds a lot of interest to a layout and a ruggedness that is needed for like outdoorsy layouts, or maybe a layout of your dog playing outside or something like that. So really good tool, small but handy, very, very handy. I have some Tim Holtz Ideology letter stickers. I don't know if these are made anymore, but they're definitely addictive, and I have multiple packs of them if you did not know. But it's just a tiny, tiny alphabet sticker, and I find that when I do my masculine pages, I either have a really large title, which is usually a chipboard word or a thicker phrase, like one of those plain phrases, or I have a little title or subtitle. But I think these are really, really fun to use because, again, they have that vintage feel and that like cookie cutter look. But I think these would also be great for school layouts because they have that, like, what are those Dymo label makers that were back in the day where you used to punch out the little letters each time. So that reminds me of this. They are not textured, they're just flat, but they do emanate that texture, so they look like they have that. I do have some Tim Holtz layering pieces. This is the botanical pack. Now while this is full of flowers and butterflies, I think it's great for masculine layouts. Let me show you some of them. There's some black and white flowers in here. Like that would look great on any page, but a masculine layout it could work really, really well. And I'll show you a collection later that has some stuff like this in it. Like I think this would look great with a 4x6 photo. I don't know, if someone in a forest and then this next to it. I just think it'd be really, really cool to have that kind of contrast. But again, just ideas. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but the birds in this, the flowers in this, all could be used for that. And again, it has that vintage vibe, which I tend to go for when I'm doing my masculine or outdoorsy pages. Okay, let's see. We have this little vintage bag here. I used to get these all the time in my trading, when I used to do trades with people of different stuff. I used to get these all the time, and I just think they're really fun. They're just an interactive element you can add without adding too much frill with like the doilies and all of that. But of course, I use doilies on masculine layouts as well, so it depends what kind of look you're going for. Again, this is the vintage feel. It's got vintage ads on it, and these are really fun. I'm not sure where you can get them. I just know that I used to get them all the time, and I still have a bunch, so I'll have to see where we can find these. I'll try to have some of the products linked down below in case you're looking for them, because I know some of these are staples for a lot of my projects, so those are really fun to use as a textural element as well. And then I also have some stamps. Now this stamp I pulled out because it is by the brand Seven Gypsies, and I don't have a lot of product from them, but I do have this, and they're another great brand, as well as Authentique and Tim Holtz for that vintagey, grungy sort of look, which again works great for layouts. But if that's not your thing for masculine layouts, that's fine. I have some other examples here of papers that are probably already in your stash that you can use to try to emulate that look you're going for. But I thought this one was really great because it's got that number texture that I'm looking for. Reminds me of a typewriter, and then it's got this little scripty font. And I think that script font's pretty great for like a little bit of a feminine touch. Just breaks up the harshness of the text. But you could use just the text by itself to create a nice pattern in the background or something. So, but speaking of backgrounds, I have this background stamp, which is from Dawn Hauser by Inkadinka Do. I got this in a rack as well, so I'm not 100% sure if it's still available, but it's this beautiful vine/leaf texture. And this is really great just to add a little pop to your background. So if you find yourself doing plain cardstock backgrounds for your masculine layouts, maybe try doing a little bit of stamping in the background. Tone on tone is definitely great. I do a lot of monochromatic layouts, and that's a great way to add texture without adding bulk and difficultness, so definitely try that out if you haven't already. And now I have some paper examples. One collection that I thought would be great for this sort of look is the Kaisercraft Open Road set, and of course this is a travel set, but it doesn't have to be travel. Like, you have these beautiful chevron pieces up at the top there. You have beautiful labels, just cute little things. I mean, a lot of these things are featured for traveling, but it doesn't have to be. Here we go again, could be any sort of thing. But there's a lot in here. I really like the color scheme. Covers the greens, the oranges, the neutrals. I really like using neutrals on my layouts, but again, I don't always use neutrals just on my masculine layouts or just for my masculine layouts. So definitely a great collection to look into. I'm not sure how widely available it is. I got this pretty recently, but I'm still not sure if the papers are widely available. So definitely check out this collection. This is the only item I have from that collection, but it is more on the rugged outdoorsy side, which is great. Here we have one of the American Crafts designs. This is just a simple camera one, and I have another tip for you guys. If you like to do masculine layouts but they're getting like repetitive, try doing either a black and white layout, so fully black and white, or do a monochromatic layout. It definitely tests your creativity of trying to mix and match the same colors within the color family, but keep it really unique to the layout itself. So this camera is great for ephemera or for a background. So doing some do a little of white mixed media back here, and then doing a centered photo. Just simple things like that really help. And when I do my masculine layouts, I do tend to keep them simple. You'll see in a little bit that that's what I tend to do. But again, that's just me. You can do whatever you'd like. This is another paper that I like to think emulates that sort of look, but it has more of a clean and simple look. This is by Photoplay, and it's called Tailored, I think. So it's just a plaid on both sides. I love both of them. Again, a neutral, but this would be great in reds, greens, pinks, purples, blues. I just like the rigidness of it, because I think that tends to go towards the modular look that I look for when I'm doing my masculine layouts. That's just what I usually do. And this is from the Mad for Plaid collection, if I did not mention that. Next up, I have a random piece of paper from my stash, and it's just a music note paper. I thought this would be really fun to go for that vintage vibe, because that's one that I do, again, very, very often. So you can find that on a lot of my layouts, but this one will probably not be used for a masculine layout since I used to play piano. But you can see the distressing over here, which is another thing I'm going to talk about later when I show you my pages, is that I do distressing with ink on my layout just to give it that fun ruggedness look again. It's just something I tend to go towards. And then last but not least, I have this beautiful royal blue colored paper. And this is called Dark Blue Scales. And it's not really the color that I'm going for, but more of the modern pattern. So I find repetitive patterns are very easy to use for masculine layouts. So whether it be arrows or diamond-like shapes repetitive like this tends to be a great background for those. I like to do something like this, which is bright and bold, and then simple photos and clustering. Nothing too fancy, just keeping it simple is what I tend to do, just so I don't get overwhelmed by choices. A couple other products that I wanted to mention. Washi tape. I do have some go-to washi tapes for my masculine layouts. This black and white grid one is new to my stash, but it's definitely going to be one that I pick out often. Again, for that modular look, it tends to get off a more masculine feel than a organic feel. And then I also have this blue and gray cross one, which is also great for that modular feel, but it also has some sort of organic feel to it because the crosses are like hand-drawn. So mimicking this sort of pattern on a background would be really great if you're interested in doing like a mixed media background for some of your layouts. So you can see those two right there. Not 100% sure on the brands. I think this one was from Walmart and this one is from Craftsmith, I believe. Not 100% sure though, so sorry. And then of course there's our collections that are made for the masculine layouts you want to make. So this one from Pink Fresh Studio called Boys Fort. I do have a lot of these papers. I didn't pull any of those papers to show you guys today because I figured I'd show you things that are outside the masculine realm of these collections, because that's what we tend to have in our stash. Is we have these masculine collections, we use them up, and then we're left with some embellishments for it. But you can see like these bright blue colors. I didn't pull any green out because I don't have a lot of green in my stash, but I also pulled some of that orange in. These colors are already in your stash. You just have to look beyond the fact that they might be what you might not think is a masculine piece of paper, but it is. This goes perfectly. Roll With It would be a great title for a page of a dog rolling outside, perhaps. That's adorable. But again, these do exist. I don't do a lot of scrapbooking, masculine style, I would say. I do have two brothers and I'm getting to their pages, so I'll be showing you more of those layouts coming soon. So if you're excited about that, let me know. I could start on those earlier rather than later. If you guys are interested, just let me know. But I do have more masculine pages to do. It's just lower on my list than some of my other projects. So now we are going to dive into my layouts. Now I do have a bunch of layouts here that we're going to look at today. So this layout's a modular feel with a little bit of an organic touch. So you can see I did some pocket page cards here, some pops of color, the yellows and blues, and I also have like a mint green under here, but relatively a modular layout, some bold pieces on the side, and then a diagonal view here. Now I do plan on creating a series for design principles. If you guys would like that, let me know. It was a comment from a subscriber. I think it was Susanna or Mora, one of the lovely ladies that commented on my video suggesting I do that, and I will be bringing that out soon, but for now this is what we'll just keep talking about. So we have a visual line here from this section to this section because of the repetitive pattern of the sequins, but we also have this sort of section here that's like a linear. So we have two cross sections here, which is really great, and what helps with that is this striped line here and then this cross here. So these are great patterns. Most of this product on this page is from Wild Whisper. I'm on their design team, so I have a bunch of their products. And if you guys haven't checked them out yet, definitely do. I have a discount code down below, but look at these beautiful pocket page cards they made. They have a lot of great collections, ranging from vintage to outdoors to travel to Mother's and Father's Day, which is just, there's just such a wide variety there. You have to check it out if you haven't already. But as you can see, basic patterns, basic embellishing, just light embellishing is what I tend to go for. A little journaling spot down here so I can add it in later, but overall a clean, simple look with a little bit of a graphic. So there's one example. Pretty clean and simple. Like I said, that tends to be my MO when it comes to masculine layouts. Some of these are upside down, so I'm sorry about that. So this layout is a layout that has nothing to do with people, but it's about Annapolis, Maryland, and that is a historical site, as you might know. This is where the State House was. We visited it, but you can see right here, maybe not, I'll have to show it a little bit closer, but I have the magic mesh tucked in under there. But this layout just has an exemplary vintage look. I distressed the papers along here as well as inked them, so after I distressed it, I inked it with my Tim Holtz Distress inks, which is perfect. I have some texture down here. I used a cork with a staple. Staples are another great way to add texture. I'm sure there's a ton of little things that I'm missing to mention in here. I do have my notes off to the side, but I can't remember everything, guys, but metal is definitely a great way to add texture, including your Tim Holtz Tiny Attacher, which is what I used on this layout. But as you can see, clean and simple lines. I did another horizontal linear pattern as well, but I also did this unique organic shape title, and then another organic shape up here. So it doesn't have to be super modular just to get that look. This is just what I tended to go for. So we have the circle, 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 and then circle embellishments throughout just to add that little touch. Again, Wild Whisper products were used on this layout, if you're wondering. Funny, another Wild Whisper layout. This one was really bright and bold, which of course you can do any color scheme when it comes to masculine layouts, but I think keeping it simple is generally what helps me feel like it's along those lines more. So I have a dark navy, a light orange, and then I did pops of yellow for some accents, as well as this teal blue color. So overall, a bright, fun layout. It's about my boyfriend and me at Washington, D.C., so this travel collection really helped bring that pop of color, but I think the mixed media adds something that's fresh and unique to this layout. If it was just a white background, I feel like it'd be a little plain, but if I did stamping on the background, I would have added that. I even added some flower blue sequins on here and some little heart stamps. So nothing too crazy on this one. Just keeping it simple is really key. And I think that bringing in one of the colors like navy or brown or black really helped ground the layout. But of course you can use different types of neutrals, like if this was a gold neutral it would work, all sorts of things. But I think neutrals tend to help a lot. This was a Speak of Mom Scraps design team layout that I made recently. This one has distressed ink edges as well. I even distressed the chipboard pieces that I was using. But you can use sequins on masculine layouts. You can use more magic mesh. This is the washi tape I was talking about earlier. I used some cork for my title. I used one of those die cut pieces from that Tim Holtz set. Some puffy stickers from the Boys Fort collection, and so much more. I even have a torn edge down here, which is another great way to do a little bit of texture if you're looking for it, and then more cork as well. So lots of texture indeed. Here you can see the magic mesh, and then the torn edge down here. Just adds a lot of texture, and this has a very naturey feel, which again it does, it's for nature. But again, it depends what you think of as masculine, what I think of as masculine, which of course can mean anything, so totally up to you, but these are just my tips. So here's another modular look that I went for with a little bit of an organic touch. So I went for the modular photo, the modular journaling spot, and even the modular title. I did little brads here, which I think add a cute little touch. Did a really basic, bold secondary title, some washi tape strips, more sequins, and then I did some embellishing up here with a little flare, and then another cork piece. Again, keeping the color scheme fairly simple is easiest for me, but again, could be totally different for you. This is just what I happened to come across. This one has a little bit more embellishing than I normally do. But I really love the way it turned out. I think it looks great, and I think my boyfriend's happy about it. So, and then this background paper, the beautiful diamond repetitive pattern, is from Basic Gray, which again has a vintage feel, but also when I mixed it with other stuff, it didn't have that feel exactly anymore. So I think that's important to note too. This one is one of my cats. This is Ted here. This is a vintage paper from my stash that I added a little bit of Heidi Swap Color Shine onto, so that's what those brown mist spots are. But I included some wood veneer, some basic patterns, again, a cork sticker. It's not real cork, but it looks like it. I even added a giant bow, which I think looks really cute. Is that foam? It looks like I added some foam flowers peeking out. And since they're not like the full embodiment of a flower, so if I had a full flowers like all around the page, it might come off a different way. You might think it's a girl cat. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But I did tuck them in, so they gave that ambiance of gentler nature. I also have some floral stickers down here and here. But it really doesn't matter. The wood veneer gives it a nice rugged feel, but it still has a nice calming natural feel. So I really love the way this one came out. A lot of green, which again I love to scrapbook with. This one's got more of that metal texture I was talking about. I did this for my Stretch Your Stash series, and if I can find process videos for all these videos, I will have them linked down below in case you're interested. But I did some eyelet circles. Now this was a labor of love, let me tell you. This took forever, which I talk about in that video, so I don't want to bore you, but keeping it simple, I did a nice plain cardstock background and then let the embellishments speak for themselves, as well as the title speak for themselves. There we go. But I did a little circular action here. And that's just what I went with. I don't know how it came together, but it did. And a little bit of washi tape, a tag, all that jazz. So just keeping it simple is generally what I do. This one's another one of my busier layouts. I included this in the masculine layout because I like larger titles for masculine layouts. I don't know if it's because it's more bold, but it's just something I go for. I included some twine on this layout, which is another great texture option. Some flare, some script font, a lot of wood veneer. This giant felt piece, which is from Basic Gray. There's a lot of cat hair on it, sorry about that. Some stars, some puffy stickers, Pretty much everything I'd want to include, I included. So it's all up to you guys, whatever you think. But I do love the bold number title for masculine layouts, or for any layout, let's be honest. It's just cute. I just wanted to share that one again because it was one of my favorites. We're back with the orange, this time orange and yellow. This is, oh wait, let me go back to this one real quick. This one is one of my monochromatic layouts. If you guys haven't seen, I have an older series on my channel called Color Theory, where I show you how to make different types of monochromatic layouts, and I go through the color of the rainbow and share them with you. So I have playlists of those listed down below if you're interested. Definitely a unique perspective when you try it out. So this one was orange, so I used the neutral gray as well as black and white, and then used orange as my main color focus. So definitely a great way to try to get your mind into the idea of using one color to tell your story. It's a very interesting kind of concept. Here's another orange and yellow layout. I guess it's just orange and yellow, not another one. But I used twine to create a really cool look, and if you guys don't follow Kira Ness here on YouTube, she does this all the time, or at least used to. Back when I made this layout, I did a nice twine wrap around here, which was super fun, and it's yet super whimsical. So I did a nice modular background pattern. So it's very repetitive. It gets the point across. This is a very rugged thing, I guess. And then I added this whimsical piece across, but it's so bold in contrast that contrast really helps carry this page, I think. Between the black, orange, and yellow, your eye just keeps wanting to move along to the black pieces, which includes the title and some of the embellishments, some of the important embellishments like the date. It keeps your eye moving across the page, as well as following this line, which leads your eye across the page, but really fun as well. I do like to let the title speak for itself when it comes to masculine layouts. As you saw in some of my other ones, some of the titles are smaller, and some of them are a lot larger, but I like to have different things here. Now here's one layout I did again for Stretch Your Stash, and it was for wood veneer, so I sprinkled little pieces all about down here. But I did do a lot more ephemera embellishing, which I don't tend to do for my masculine layouts because I find that it doesn't tend to go with what I'm trying to do, if that makes any sense. But I used some of those wood veneer buttons as well as my regular wood veneer pieces and my tiny attacher like I mentioned before to get that look. And I also have the gold accent here. So the gold is one of those colors that can be used for anything, of course, but just using it on this layout really seemed to add that pop that I needed for this layout to stand out. So as for patterns, I tend to go for wood grain, stripes, or vintagey papers, but as you saw from here, I also like to do a lot of modular patterns, like this background piece here. Inking edges, torn edges, distressed edges are really great ways to add texture to your layout, which again, texture is my key for making cohesive layouts for masculine purposes, I should say. But other than that, texture is the key to all of my masculine layouts. If you saw one here that didn't have a lot of texture, it might be one of my older layouts. This one doesn't have too much, but it does have the wood veneer, which I like, and then this 3D bow. This one had all the metal texture, which was super fun. And texture can be made in a bunch of ways. It could be stenciling with just ink through a stencil. It could be stenciling with modeling paste through a stencil. It could be making ruffles with ribbon, which would be really cool. I don't have a sewing machine, but it sounds super cool to try to do that. But I do let everything stay pretty simple for the most part. I don't do excessive embellishing, or what I would consider excessive embellishing, but again, go with your gut when it comes to masculine layouts. If you don't like the way it looks, then don't do it. Starting simple is a good way to start, like doing one photo, title, cluster, and calling it a day. That can really help, starting with something basic. This one took a lot more time for me to figure out. This was a design team project, and it took me so long to finish, and I'm happy with it now. I'm not sure how happy I was with it when I was completed with it. It might have felt unfinished, but sometimes you have to let things sit so they can meld in your mind and make more sense. That's just how things go sometimes. But other than that, I tend to go for neutral colors on my masculine layouts, as well as one pop of color. I like to use all brights like on this one, or deeper colors like on this one. Some deeper reds and blues in my photos help bring a neutral layout together. But those are some of my tips for masculine layouts. Share one tip for your masculine layouts down below. If you guys have any questions, please let me know, or any more tips, of course, I'd like to know. But these are the things I tend to use. And I hope you guys get to make some more masculine layouts soon, or at least try out some of these techniques I've shared, even if it's not for a masculine layout. There's no rules in scrapbooking, so that's all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and check out the links down below for more inspiration on these layouts. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!